G'day guys, welcome to another layout. This one is process heavy, so I'm showing you my process and I have done a little bit of editing, okay? This one was just one that I just did for fun because I wanted to get all the sparkly goodness onto a layout. This one is a cut file, that is a cut to you cut file. I will have it linked in the description below. I also use on this one my distress crayons and my TEMU mark making stamps. I am using them because I bought them. Would I buy them again? Now I know that they are almost exactly the same as another brand. Probably not, but I'm going to use them because I've bought them. So I have also used on this one, I'm going around and I'm just tracing extra stars, okay? So I've got the ones that are cut out with the cut file, and then I've got some extras. Now, I've done them on the back. Now I'm going to town with my distress crayons. There's KITSCH Flamingo, I use Peacock Feathers, Mustard Seed, and Mermaid Lagoon. They're the colours that I use. Now, always beware when you are putting multiple colours down like this, colours are going to mix and you may not like what you get. So if you put, I've left the bright green and the orange off because yellow and pink will make orange, but orange and green will make brown, and we don't want that on this particular layout. So I have just put I've got these little finger gloves. I use them when I know that it's going to stain my finger or, you know, and I'm doing 3 or 4 videos a day and I know that I'm going to look ridiculous with paint all over me and whatnot. So that's what I do. Now, I've gone ahead and I have just put the crayon down. Now, still on the back, I'm going through with these mark making stamps and I'm just stamping anywhere. I don't know where the stars are on the other side of this. So what you'll end up with, and what I do end up with, is a more random star. If I was stamping on the other side, I'd be trying to, I find that I try and get my stamps within the star, and it doesn't look as random. So yeah, so that's why I did it on the back. I also did it on the back because that was the reason I did it on the back. There was no other reason. Sorry, I had my phone's going crazy. I've been up since like 2 a.m. It's now 8 a.m. and yeah, just saying, a little bit foggy today. So we had a heap of rain overnight and, you know, which we're not complaining about because we're going to head into a very dry summer. So now I come in with some clear embossing powder. This is just the Crafter's Choice one. It's just some that I had left over. And I'm just going over all of that. I stamped it with my VERSAFINE ONYX black ink. That gives me a nice crisp image, but it also stays wet enough that I had plenty of time to do all that stamping and then get the embossing powder onto it. And this is locking in the stamp and it's giving me shine. That's what I wanted it to do on top of the all wax crayon. So now that bit's done, now I cut them out. I don't sit here and show you all of the cutting out because, well, that's boring. So I decided to trim them all down. As you can see from that side, I have no clue what is going to be on each star. And I think that makes it better when you're looking for a random look, when you've used mark making stamps, all that sort of thing. So I wasn't real happy with some of the yellow. It wasn't as bright as I'd liked, but it's okay. I still used it. I forged ahead. So I did go around the outside borders of all the stars. Again, I skipped over some of it because you don't want to sit here and watch me go around all the stars. I'm using my uni ball It's called Uniball Signo. It's a gel pen, and it's in the broad tip, and that got me a nice solid pigment. Actually, it's not pigment ink, the black one. It's gel. I'm sure it's gel. Yeah, Gel Impact. So the black one is Uniball Gel Impact, and it's 1.0. If you want to get it, it's fantastic for giving you nice solid black lines. And that went with the embossing perfectly. Now, once I get this bit all done, I just showed you that I did go around all the black edges like that. And now I've got all my stars. So I'm keeping my stars separate from my extra stars to the ones that went in back inside the cut file. Now what I've done is I've pulled out more pastel tones of my Distress Oxides. So I pulled out KITSCH Flamingo. I could have gone with Spun Sugar, but I thought KITSCH Flamingo might show up a little bit better. Then I did some Squeezed Lemonade, some Salvaged Patina, and some Tumbled Glass. All I'm doing is getting some colour on the background. I'm not necessarily going for solid colour or anything like that. It's just giving a little bit extra in the background. But these are pastel, so they're not going to be fighting for the attention from the stars, but it's going to give you some colour in the background. Totally works. Now, a little bit of so I scrunch up I like to scrunch up the plastic and when I'm doing the packaging technique, because I prefer to get like these little speckles rather than just a big swatch of colour. Now, this is just going onto some white textured cardstock. It's the American Crafts white textured cardstock. So yeah, I just feel like it was fine to do that. I didn't add that much liquid to it, and it worked. It was fine. Now I just took 1/4 of an inch off 2 sides, so that'll give me about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, and I just glued that down very quickly to a black border, because I am using black in the layout. So now I've got the black in the border, I've got the black embossing, well, it was black stamping but embossed, and I've gone around the edges of the stars with the black pen. So I've got a little bit more black here and there popping up. Now this is where I start putting it all together. I'm using little tiny dots of glue just to hold things in place, because otherwise I find sometimes when I'm watching videos where you do this sort of auditioning process, right? I find that I get a bit nauseous with things going on the screen, off the screen. Hang on, we'll put it there, but then we'll move it. Sometimes you need that auditioning process, and sometimes you don't. Now, have a look what I did here. So these stars go in the center perfectly, but I just turned them one way, and it just makes the star have a slightly different look to it. I didn't do it on all of them, just on some, and I absolutely love how it turned out. So I was considering doing the 3 big ones the same, but I just left them in there like that for now. And this is where I start scattering all these other stars that I've made. So essentially this is my ephemera. This is something that I really like to do. I enjoy the process of, it's a simple shape. I'm using different forms of mixed media. I'm using inks, I'm using crayons, I'm using embossing powder, I'm using cardstock, all of those different mediums coming together. I love playing with that, and I like the end result that it gives you on your layout. So I am going to town. I'm not overly auditioning these. I'm trying to do very loosely, trying to do a little bit of color tone on tone. So where the blue is, I've sort of got more of the blue stars there, and the yellow, I'm trying to have a little bit of the yellow, because they're not really fighting against the pastel colors in the background. They're popping perfectly, and it's not, you're not really noticing the tone on tone as much as you would have, be it that I didn't put that ink in the background. And you could do that too. This layout, you could, if you didn't want to cut the stars out, you could jump on your Cricut and you could cut a stack of stars out. Not a problem. You could also go ahead, you might have some punches that you want, that you've got, and my punches have a slightly more, it's not a pointy star like this one, so I couldn't use my punches for it. You might have some dies, you could do it with that as well. There's so many different ideas that you can come up with to do something like this. This particular cut file really spoke to me though, because this is where Jen was trying on her new leotard that we'd bought her for this year, and she's like, oh, I feel so, she says it every time, feels so good when she puts on a new leotard because it's nice and tight. It like bounces back straight away. So yeah, it's one of those things. She absolutely loves the new leotard. So I wanted to scrap it. I know it's one photo. Sometimes I have been asked, how many photos do I always just scrap with one photo? No. Sometimes I do double page layouts. Sometimes I do 4, 5, 6 photos on a layout, depending on what the subject is. Sometimes I like to have my scrapbooking tell a story. Sometimes it's about the story. I do scrap the everyday. So I scrap special events, but I also scrap the everyday photos. And because I just feel like down the track, it's those little things during the day that you forget. And it's not until you go back through your photos and you go back 5 years, go back 6 years, and have a look at the photos, and you'll go, oh, I forgot about that. I remember we did that. Oh, I remember so-and-so picked up that rock and just wouldn't put it down. And, you know, like there's little memories that we have, and I like to scrapbook those. And by scrapbooking the small memories, it allows me to be really creative with colour, creating my own ephemera, pen work, paint, all that sort of stuff. So that's what I feel my style is. And you can adapt it for yourself. Like you do what makes you happy when it comes to your layouts. You know, you might be someone that only ever wants to scrap large events, and that is totally fine. If you want to print your photos a different size, you might get your photos printed at like Kmart or Harvey Norman or wherever you get your photos printed, and you might only ever get 4x6 photos. Well, you can only fit so many 4x6 photos on a page. And if you're more about, like I used to be 20 years ago when I scrapped, I was looking through one of my albums the other day, actually, it was pretty funny. I've always wanted to add the artistic side and the creative side to my scrapbooking, but what I found was by printing my photos 4x6 all the time, it gave me less room to be creative in the background. So that is why I now prefer the largest photo I like to use, unless it's a one-off photo. I prefer to use a 3x4 inch photo, which is what I've used here. And sometimes I like to do a 2¼ by 2¼ that allows me to fit more on a page. Now, saying these sizes, I use Epson Creative Print. It's an app, and I do have an Epson printer. It's an Epson stylus, an Epson stylus XP 8600. That's what it is. And it prints, it's got the 6 different ink cartridges, and it gives me a really crisp photo, and the color is bang on the money. I have gone through, and you probably have done this too, I've gone to other places to have my photos printed, and the colours are just way out of whack. They're not right. I ended up with some photos where my kids were green. Yes, I had green children. It was not good. So, needless to say, I'm glad those 50 prints were free because I had green alien looking children. So, yeah, it was pretty disappointing. That was through Snapfish actually. And I did end up getting some more photos printed, but I was really wise at what I got printed, and I was a little bit happier with the second lot, but I prefer to be able to print my photos at home. So yeah, so I went down that path. Now I am adding my sprinkly bits. I used the Amy Tangerine remarks letters on this particular page. I had never actually used the black letters on the remarks letter. It's like a sleeve. It's got them all connected. Yeah. So I've never used the dark letters, and they actually worked perfectly on here because they're not black. Well, they are, but they're kind of like a lollipop stripe, if that makes sense. So I did that. Now I do something, and I feel like I wrecked it, but when you think you've wrecked something, take 2 more steps. Just 2 more steps. It's 2 steps between a good decision and a bad decision. You know, if you just go do 2 more things, hopefully it will all come together for you and it'll be exactly what you wanted. I decided, look at all my stars. The easiest way for me, look at all that sparkle. I know that was in fast forward. Don't worry, I do slow it down and do it later. As soon as I did that, I hated it. Hated it. And I still was hating it. I wasn't liking it at all. So I pulled out my Posca paint pen and I drew a nice squiggly box around them. And that looks better. I should not have touched it. I should have just left them. But they look like they were just floating out in midair. So that's why I decided, okay, I'm going to go around these and lock them down. That's kind of where my brain went. So it turned out okay in the end, but I wish I hadn't have gone around the letters. That bothered me. So that is my layout, guys. I would now like to do my shameless plug. Please, if you have not subscribed, I would love to have you subscribe. Over the Christmas break, I will be providing lots and lots and lots of inspiration for you if you find some time during the Christmas silly season to get some scrapbooking done. And it might give you the ideas of photos to take, because that's the other thing. What photos do you take? Because what do you like to scrapbook? There's an idea, guys. Let's try and figure that out. I have my Facebook and Instagram links in the description below, along with my Buy Me a Coffee if you would like to contribute to the channel and to help me out with buying new supplies. So this is my layout. I love all the sparkle of all those little tiny stars. They came from a $2 shop, guys. So I've got the larger silver ones and the small silver ones. And check out the black. It's nice and shiny and reflective. I love all that on the layout. And not a crystal in sight, yet there's all that sparkle. So there you go, guys. That's my layout. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave me a comment, and I will chat to you soon. Bye for now.